you are. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, on where you are, your office. But this is this webinar. I want to just do a few housekeeping items before we get started. Everyone is muted. So what we ask you to do is, if you have any questions or comments throughout the webinar, we choose them to all panelists through the chat window. And I think that's all I have to say to you right now. So with that, I am going to turn it over and that is going to.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Seth Hassett from the Office of Community Services, and thank you all for joining today's webinar, and thanks to our NASCAP colleagues for all of your assistance in this webinar and in our work together state plan process. Today's webinar is going to be about the first series, but it's about the process and timelines for submission of the state CSBG plans for the coming fiscal year. We're excited to share additions and improvements of the overall system, which will include a master list of CSBG eligible entities, which we hope will significantly improve our ability to manage information and analyze information in our system. I'll start by saying that we're going to be talking about the action transmittal that gives instructions on the of the state plan, and talking a little bit about this new master list process. Next slide, please. First, this process hasn't been without its challenges, and in particular this year we experienced some delays moving forward with an updated clearance from the Office of Management and Budget, or OMB, and challenges in the technical development. But we're ready to move forward, and over the next several days, OCS, NASCASP, and a group of selected state partners will be doing some testing of the system, which will go live on August 15th. Interim, we're going to be working to recommend that all states begin the process of completing a master list, which will be required for all states, and will be talked about a little more on this call and in follow-up calls. Next slide. Recognize that the time frame for completing online plans is quite limited. Plans are due on September 1st, and although we're unable to extend the deadline for submission from state plans, which is outlined in statute, we know that we will accept plans from states that if they aren't able to submit by the 1st, and there will be no penalty. If you experience any technical difficulties in this process, please, of course, contact your assigned program liaison staff, and we will note that as we begin our reviews, and we, of course, will be prioritizing out reviews in the order in which they're received. With that, I'm going to be handing over to some of the other OCS staff, and beginning with Nika Carr, who will be talking about other elements of this process. So thank you very much, and I'll hand over to Ronika.
Thank you. Before we go into talking about the master eligible entity list, which is the real focus of today's webinar, we just wanted to give a little refresher about on the background of the CSBG state plan. Next slide, please. You know, we went through a rigorous month-long process to get this new plan cleared through OMB, and we just, again, we would like to thank you all. We really appreciate the network and the feedback that you all provided in terms of updating this new plan, and as well as getting it cleared throughout the OMB process. Know or may not know, the plan, received OMB clearance on July 2nd, and we received OMB clearance for additional 3 years, so we're very thankful for that. In regards to the new CSVG state plan, or the automated plan, it incorporates 3 performance efforts, and that would include the org standards for CSVG eligible entities, as well as the accountable measures for states and OCS, and results-oriented management and accountability, or ROMA. Next slide, please. Before we go on to the next slide, can you go back for a second for me, Melissa? We also wanted to remind SAY that the plan is accessed through ACF's Online Data Collection System, or OLDC, and for this plan, as well as previous plan, this plan mostly increases the efficiency of the plan process, as well as improves the data analysis capabilities from the previous plan. Next slide, please. You have the content areas for the CSVG state plan, and there are 16 content areas. I'm not going to go through the entire list today. Many of you are aware of what these are, or you'll be able to see them online. Next slide, please. So for this year's plan, we have 2 submission groups. We have one submission for Group A. These are the following states that are required to submit a plan, a 1- or 2-year plan for fiscal 2019. Group B are the states that are required to submit an SF424M for fiscal year 2019, but we also submit an update to their previous plan or previously accepted plan. Again, I'm not going to go through the entire list of states. We have it in your slides, and you can also review this at a later time. Next, please. So for A states, these are the states with the current accepted 1- or 2-year plans ending in fiscal year 2018. These states, their plan ended September 30th, 2018, and currently there are 25 states in this particular group, and states must complete the CSVG eligible entity list as well as a new plan. Again, the plan will be subject to all requirements of the CSVG Act, and that includes the public hearing requirement. Next slide. 3 states, and these are states with the accepted 2-year plans, and these plans end fiscal year 2019, September 30th to be exact. Group B states, you all have 2 options. The first option is to solely complete the CSVG eligible entity list, as well as the SF42M as a separate form through OLDC. Your option is to complete the CSVG eligible entity master list and submit revisions to the CSVG state plan. You also must include the appropriate designee to certify the report. Next. We have official OCS guidance to provide to you all, and we submitted a transmittal on Friday, July 27th to be exact, and this action transmittal basically to notify you all that the plan will be open shortly, and we just want to remind states to submit their plans, as well as, and we also provided the necessary guidance to you all as to what should be done in terms of submitting your plan, what are the necessary requirements, as well as information about the master eligible entity list. So please read this when you have an opportunity to do so. For this particular slide, I want to talk a little bit about the elements of the CSVG state plan. So for this year's plan, it's a new complete plan, and this is the first time that we will actually have the CSVG eligible entity master list. For this plan, we also talked about the standard form for the federal assistance, so that is also a requirement that we would like for folks to submit, in, again, the SF424M, as well as it also incorporates the CSVG state plan sections 1 through 14, as well as the certifications as defined by the CSVG statute. So these are all the elements of the CSVG state plan for this year, and with the addition of the CSVG eligible entity master list. So I will pass the bucket on to Nikki Frazier, who will talk further about the plan.
Next slide. We'll now go over the eligible entity master list. Next. What is CSVG eligible entity master list? The master list consists of each eligible entity the business as name or DBA, the number of each eligible entity, whether the eligible entity is a profit, for-profit, or nonprofit entity, their standard address, as well as the geographical areas that they serve. There are benefits to filling the eligible entity master list. It's for linkage to the state plan, Section 5, linkage to Module 1, Section C, linkages to Modules 2 and 4. It also provides a more specific method for collecting and storing eligible entity information for your state. This requires an update when there is a change. Next. All states must complete the eligible entity master list at least once. It will be implemented for the fiscal year 2019 CSBG state plan. So the CSBG state plan is due September 1st, 2018. Our resubmission when there is a change to an eligible entity. So it does not require authorized official certification. The bright side. G eligible entity list opens Thursday, August 2nd, 2018, 3 days from today. Next slide. Let's head over to Monique Alcantara to go over the details of the eligible entity master list.
Thank you, Nikki. So now we'll actually go through a training of completing the eligible entity master list. This is a new form. As Nikki mentioned, it will be available to everyone this Thursday, August 2nd. The eligible entity master list must be completed before you start your submission for the plans. And that is because the master list will complete Section 5, no longer edit your eligible entity list within the state plan. Also, you mentioned you'll only edit the eligible entity master list when there's actually an update. So this means going forward, you're not going to have to update this every single year. When you first access OLDC, sometimes they'll take you to your regular homepage. We recommend that you switch your homepage to Enhanced by clicking Switch Homepage Enhanced in the top right-hand corner. And our training will be done from the Enhanced page. So the Enhanced page, we recommend the Enhanced page because it does give you easier access to your recent activity, which means any form that you're currently working on. Since doing a training, there is no here, but within your own recent activity, you will see whichever forms are currently active. Next slide. And as we continue going through this is all done within a testing module. So nothing that we do here will actually show up in your actual online access, data collection access. We did use California. So to start, select report form and on the left-hand side. Next page. Next. The page which many of you, I'm sure, have seen, or select your program name. If you have more than one program, it'll show all the programs, but for our purposes, we'll always select Community Services Grant. Your name should always be your state, and this will be your only option. And then the report name is CSBG Eligible Entity Master List, CSBG Master List. Next slide. Once the fields, a step 4 will populate, and you want to click Select Action and select New. This is your only option, and then select Enter. Next slide. A new window will pop up, and for description, there is no real parameters for this, but we're just suggesting that you enter your state abbreviation, and then EE Master List or Eligible Entity Master List, and then you click Create Report. Next, thank you. This will take you to your Report Sections page, and then start actually entering your eligible entities. Under Form Action, you'll select Edit Section and then click Go. Next. And it will take you to your main form. Remember that this is called the main form because I will refer back to this later in this presentation. In order to start, you'll click Add Eligible Entity at the bottom of the screen. Please do not upload your eligible entity list as an attachment. Be accepted or allowed for linkage to the state plan or the annual report. Next slide. Once you click Add to Eligible Entity, it will pop up letting you know that changes will be lost without saving the data. Just click OK. You actually will not be able to make any changes from the main form, but this is just a system thing that's in there and we cannot remove it. Next slide. What we call the iterative form, and this is where you'll actually enter the information for each eligible entity. Note on the left-hand side under data element, each data element is clickable and will provide more information on what is requested as a response. Then each item that is requested. This one is your DUNS number. The DUNS number refers to the official data universal numbering system, and the official DUNS number is registered to the eligible entity. It will be in digits. As we mentioned earlier, the eligible entity list will link to modules 2 through 4. So it's extremely important that when you're completing this information, you are double checking your spelling and the numbers and everything that you're entering. Next. Make sure that CSBG eligible entity name. Official name, again, this should be the official name that is associated with the DUNS number. Do not add any additional information in this text box. This is not limited to an acronym or a more commonly known name. So as an example, we gave an example of what's right. We are the Office of Community Services, so our official name would be Office of Community Services. And in the example under it, which is wrong, we put OCS as an acronym. We will not include that in this first box. Next slide. Next is the CSBG eligible entity doing business as name. Provide only the acronym or more commonly known name. The only field that is not required. This field will not link to any other form, but may be useful to your program specialist. Again, example here, we would put OCS. We would not spell out Office of Community Services and then put OCS as in parentheses. Next, your street address. Again, you're providing the official street address for the eligible entity as is associated with the DUNS number. We'll include the actual street number, the actual street name or address, no abbreviations, so spell out street, road, boulevard, and then the suite, office, or floor number as applicable. Next slide. Next to the city, which you'll provide the official city for the eligible entity as is associated with the DUNS number. Next slide. State, the official state for the eligible entity as is associated with the DUNS number. This should be your state. Next slide. The official zip code for the eligible entity as it is associated with the DUNS number. We're only for the 5 digits, not the additional 4 digits that could come at the end of the postal code. We really only need the first 5. Next. The geographical area served by the eligible entity. So this is something that's kind of updating where we're telling you specifically how to enter the data here. And this is going to be important for the upcoming CSBG performance management site when we transfer the information over. So when you're completing it, you want to give the accurate name for each area served. So if it's a county, you want to list it as Montgomery County, Prince County, not counties of, and then list all the counties. Actually, we don't need the words and or anything like that. It should literally just be the accurate name for each area served. And then each area should be separated by commas or semicolons. They should not be listed, so no hitting enter or multiple spaces, just a comma, space, next, county, or city. Next. So earlier we said profit or nonprofit. That was incorrect, and we'll update that slide when we make these slides available. It will be public or nonprofit, and then you can just select whether this is a public or nonprofit eligible entity. Only one option can be selected here. Then your type of eligible entity. There's 4 that you can choose from. That's the Community Action Agency, the Limited Purpose Agency, Migrant or Seasonal Farm Worker Organization, Tribe or Tribal Organization. In this option, you can select multiple. Select multiple options, you'll hold down the control button while making your selections. You can see example, I selected Community Action Agency and Tribe or Tribal Organization. Next. Eligible entity does not technically fit under one of the types listed. Select Community Action Agency. Note, whether nonprofit or public, entities that receive CSBG funds are generally considered to be CAAs for the purpose of administering CSBG. The only specific exceptions outlined in the CSBG Act are Section 677 of the CSBG Act, and are the other 3 options that we've listed under type of entity. Next. Each entity, select Validate at the bottom or top of the screen. Next. As the screen will reload, and you'll see the official name and DUNS number at the top of the form in the box. If there are errors, the screen will reload and you'll see the errors listed in red. Click on long description for additional details, and go to will take you to the specific question. Example of the error message. Please provide the DUNS number for each eligible entity within the state. You can click OK, and then you can go to DUNS number and update the DUNS number. Once you have responded to each error, you select Validate again, and the errors will clear. The next eligible entity, select Go to Main at the top of the page, and start the process again. Repeat until all eligible entities have been entered. Next slide. Once you completed entering all eligible entities, you'll select Validate from the main screen. Next. Several errors that you can receive once you click Validate from the main screen. One is all eligible entities are validated. The second is duplicated DUNS number, and the last one is duplicate eligible entity. And we'll walk through each of these errors. All eligible entities are not validated. As previously said, you have to hit Validate once you finish entering all the information for each eligible entity. Do not do that, then once you go back to the main screen to validate again, to validate the entire form, it will give you this error message. As you can see in our example, the third example only saved and not saved and validated. So to fix it, you'll select the correlating DUNS number and validate within the form specific to the eligible entity, and then select Go to Main to return. Next slide. Message is a duplicate DUNS number. This literally just means that 2 or more of the eligible entities have the same DUNS number listed. Review the DUNS number of each eligible entity in the first column. When in the duplicate DUNS number, select the correlating DUNS number of that entity that needs to be updated. This eligible entity form will populate, edit the DUNS number, validate, and then select Go to Main to return. And then final error is the duplicate eligible entity. This means that 2 or more of the eligible entities have the same official name or column. To fix, you'll review the official name of each eligible entity in the second column. To find a duplicate name, you have 2 options. Option 1, if it's an accidental duplicate, just by selecting the X under the Actions column, which is the last column on the screen. Slide. Option 2, if it's not an accidental duplicate, select the correlating DUNS number of the eligible entity that needs to be updated, the official name, validate, and then Go to Main to return. Once you respond to all the errors, you'll have to revalidate, and then you're ready to submit. To submit, you'll have to go back to the Report Sections page, select Report Sections towards the top of the page, and then select Go to Report Sections. Once on the Report Sections page, you'll select Submit, and the following pop-up will appear, and you'll click OK. And then you'll know it's submitted because it'll go to the Report Status form, and it'll say Unsubmit, which just take a pause here. At our Great We Made It presentation on August 14th, we'll actually do a live demo of completing the master list. But in the interim, if you're going and completing it, Nate and myself are both available to do technical assistance. You can email us at these emails. We suggest that you copy both of us as well as CSBG State. Multiple people have access to the CSBG State's email address. So if Nick or I are not available, then someone else will be able to assist. Again, you can feel free to call us. We will be here and ready to go and help you guys out with completing this form. Left-hand side of the screen, we do your program specialist for any programmatic questions. Jamia Furbush is currently on leave, but again, if you just copy CSBG States, we'll make sure that you get to the right person, and she will have submissions in September. Next slide. And we are at our questions and answer portion. Just so you know, I went through these kind of fast, but we will be doing a live demo in an upcoming webinar. So I'll turn to you to let us know if there's any questions.
There's a transmittal is 2018-01. Is there another one for 2018-02?
The action transmittals that went out last week, the actual transmitter number should have been action transmittal 02 because 01 was done earlier in the fiscal year. So updated when posted to the website. All other content that was sent out in that action transmittal is correct, but the transmittal number was incorrect.
Thank you. There's another question. If you don't choose the updated version when first going into OLDC, how do you now access the update since the message does not pop up again once you decline?
I'm just referring to the enhanced homepage versus the regular homepage. If that is the case, if you can just contact Nikki and myself, this is Monique, directly, then I'll walk you through that, only because I don't have the slides for that right now, and get through without those slides. More confusing than helpful.
Speaking of slides, the other question is, when will the slides be posted?
No.
We have the recording, and we will send this out as soon as possible. And that's it.
Okay, as Muska mentioned, NASCAP is posted as soon as possible. This webinar was recorded, and our next webinar is
that will be next Tuesday.
Yeah, so that webinar is specific for Group B. Those are the states who have already submitted their 2-year state plan, and they're not required to submit a new plan until next fiscal year. And it's
August 7th.
Oh,
yeah, even time.
That webinar will also be recorded. And everyone.